Architectural Builder's Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Right, so you've got a door that's slamming.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't slam per se. I mean, it closes normally most of the time, but it still closes with a, bit of a thud. And like I was saying, if you have a window open or something, you have to be, conscious to not push it as hard to close because of what's that negative or positive air pressure, But if I could get it to close quieter all the time and not thud, that would be better.
Yeah, I believe it.
And it's been this way for 50 years. So, I've lived here for like 31 of them or something, or 32. But whenever I was looking around, I saw those rubber things. I thought that might be good. But what's your take on it?
Take on what?
What I could do.
Rubber things or your door that's closing louder than you want?
Well, the rubber things that I used, that I showed you in that video, they didn't do anything. I thought originally I'd put 5 down and 3 across at the top. It turns out it did not do the ones across.
Yeah. That would not have helped your problem. Not because you're stating they're ineffective, and it's because you would have changed the geometry of your door by the thickness of the pad on that Glenn Johnson GJ65. That rubber mute is used in countless wood frame applications and commercial applications with complete success.
Okay.
So you probably found that your deadbolt may not have bolted like you wanted, like it had prior to putting that there. So the problem is...
No, the deadbolt's the same.
Yeah, so there was an adequate amount of slop in there, because when the door now, you drilled it in the face of the stop, you drill whatever the diameter of the hole is, inserted the GJ65 wood frame silencer into it. Now you've got the thickness of the pad, which is probably 150 thousandths, something like that. The door closes and hits it. Now you've got a different gap that's happening. So now the door is canted further out a little bit, or further in your case, up to the interior. And the problem of air pressure, or what's called stack pressure, is every door, every building, whether it be commercial or residential in nature, it's a major problem, especially when you have handicap compliant openings that must be handicap compliant. So you have to increase your spring pressure to control the door better, but now you violated the 5 pounds of opening force, because with an increased closing force comes an increased opening force. So a couple of ideas of what you could do. First, so do you have any proposed solutions?
Not really, no.
Okay. So what I think you could consider is, and I'll send you a link to it, but some silicone self-adhesive gasket that you could put in the rabbet of the frame, depending on the gap. And that will, to a small extent, give you some cushion, a small extent. Putting anything between the face of the door and the stop, the location of the hinge prep and the strike prep and the lock prep wasn't designed for that. So if you've ever seen an opening that had curved in weather stripping, the door is kicked out by that projection dimension. So putting something like where the GJ65 currently resides, as we discussed, there's hardware to do this in the sense of it will help. And this hardware is called a friction holder or a friction stay. And the only times that I really see them are the point of the matter is you don't see them when they're installed, but the applications are patient room doors in hospitals, meaning there's this slide track mechanism, and there are different function of these. One of them is a friction function, so that you have to deliberately move the door to a different degree, and it stays there. And small amounts of stack pressure change won't affect it, because you've got a slide track, and there's intentional friction built into it. That all gets mortised to the top of the door and the underside of the header, so that when the door is closed, you never see this thing. Yeah, so will it solve the problem? I don't know. Is it realistic for you to actually consider it? Not at all. because you'll have to have someone who's extremely capable with a router, assuming that you aren't, although you could be, and the hardware is not inexpensive. Another option is to put a door closer on it, something with hydraulic control, and those come surface mounted, which would be inappropriate, and they also come concealed, which could be very appropriate, but you're back at the same problem of needing to have somebody really handy with a router. So at the end of the day, you could also just install onto the soffit of the stop gasketing. You could put some small gasketing on the soffit, which is not so the stop is what the door stops against. The face of the stop is what the door touches. Well, the other dimension at 90 degree that you can see when you're looking in the opening, that's what we call the soffit. You could probably take some aluminum extrusion with an insert and attach it there and get one small enough where it's not, so obvious, but it's on the exterior of the opening, and that's where you want weather stripping to begin with. But when you've got the window open, the window up in the summer and the air pressure comes through, gasketing, all that's going to do is it's not going to be a measurable change. That's the problem.
Yeah. How did you were talking about like these rubber things work with great success with other people? What are they doing that I'm not doing?
Oh, it's not. I mean, you're using the item outside of what it's intended for. It's not intended to solve your problem. It's a mute, so that when somebody takes a door and they close it behind them, it mutes that sound. You don't have that problem. The problem you have is the door slamming shut.
What's the difference between muting it and
well, standard adult use on a door does not give off so much acoustical energy that it causes a typical homeowner to look for hardware solutions. If the sound of a door closing is the problem, there's no way to solve that because there's not a realistic way to solve it because all the hardware makes noise. The latch bolt hitting the lip of the strike, gives off sound. The rotating of the lever or the knob, and the door actually being pulled to the closed position gives off sound. Now, the nice idea about the weather stripping installed on the outside is you can tailor, because you were mentioning that now I've got to pull the door harder. You can tailor the position on the soffit so that if you really want to compress that gasketing, you can install it tighter to the face of the door. And if you want less so, and those holes are generally slotted, where you can kind of move it back and forth a little bit to tailor it, or you can slot holes. So that'll certainly help. And, one reason that I like the Curfton style weather stripping, and you couldn't realistically install it, is because the stuff is so effective. It's inexpensive. It's so cushiony, so to speak. And it does a great job for years and years. And it does muffle the sound. But that's just normal pulling the door behind you when you walk in, or pushing the door closed, when you come in.
Yeah.
So,
and I've already got that stuff in curved in the installation stuff you saw, But all right. Well, I didn't know there was this much to know about doors, and you did get, as I'd mentioned to you once before in a conversation, that door bottom that I have that kicks downward when you shut it. I'm still amazed that thing works pretty much flawlessly. I did have to lube it a time or two because it was sort of sticking, but it's been great. Can't say enough good things about it. When you close the door bottom comes down.
Yeah, whose item is that?
Well, I got it from you guys, but you were talking about it in one of your videos.
Was that, I don't see an order under your email for an automatic door bottom.
I'm pretty sure I got it from you guys, maybe not. But when you close the door, that thing goes downward, and it's been great. Yeah,
I don't know which model of it. There's lots of different strata and of those items, and that technology is about 100 years old, But
Oh,
yes,
wow.
it's dependable. There's been a lot of evolution in it. The ones that we sell now are there are some of them that are far superior to just the flat spring technology in terms of their acoustical rating. The sound is another thing. We've got one on the market that's really quiet, really silent. Yeah, I'd like to know the model that you've got, but just to be able to talk about it. I can't see it here because I don't see a prior order.
What's the brand name? Do you recall?
Well, we distribute for lots of people, lots of manufacturers of door bottoms.
Oh, okay. I thought this was like the only company that made them or something. But, there's so many products, and I've mentioned to you this on a previous conversation, that there's so many items that I buy now, whether it's electronic stuff or whatever, that fails, and needs to be repaired and everything. And that's what I figured would happen on the door bottom thing, but still, it works like a champ.
And it will for decades. The only thing that will eventually have to provided nobody, provided you don't leave, not you, but if you've raised children, as those days are well behind me, but the kids would leave the shoes, behind the door, and you come in, push the door open. So as long as you don't have, like a shoe back there and the thing's still hanging down, or you don't do anything, it'll work forever.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't get bent.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, not that I want to change my door out, but one of the things that, in trying to keep my place, either heated or cooled, it's a regular wood door, and you saw that I got it painted up nice and everything. I'd hate to change it out, but I was surprised, I have a temperature gun. I got all kind of tools, but I was pointing at the door, but like maybe, I don't know, a week ago when, summer's pretty much over, but I think we might have hit 86 that day or something. And those temps are measured in the shade, but coming through the door, I think it was 114 degrees is what the door was emanating on the inside of the house. 114 on an 86 degree day. So, and it only gets worse here in Atlanta whenever you get, 97 degree day. But I know that the doors that are like fiberglass, I think those are the best as far as not emanating heat or cold into them. I don't know if you have any other suggestions, any way to insulate a non-insulated door, that way I don't have to change it out. But do you have any tips or tricks on that by chance?
Not at all.
Okay.
I don't know much about residential doors, but I am a fan of fiberglass because, I can't speak to its R value because I just don't know. But, the problem, obviously we do what we can where we can, but, you've got, then you're going to do the door. What about the plate glass up front? What about the roof? Where does it end? But if you're going to replace the door, you'll want to look at R value as what's the best bang for the buck for R value?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the fiberglass doors, they don't dent like a metal door does. I'm sure they do have some drawbacks. I don't know what they are, but they're supposed to be pretty darn good.
I like them. They're full of polyurethane. I believe it's polyurethane, which is really good for R value, not so much for the environment. It's got decent screw withdrawal strength, so when I install hardware to them, the screws kind of hold. You can paint it, you can stain it, get countless colors. The only drawback is it doesn't look like wood, but at 6 feet away, it's perfect. So,
yeah. I would assume they might dent, I guess, if.
No, I don't think it would. I think it would micro dent, but if you hit it hard enough, it's gonna, it will rupture. But fiberglass is extremely dent resistant, and in fact, fiberglass faced doors are used in schools, and they use it for a reason. They use fiberglass faced doors in schools for that reason. For the reason of kids being kids, denting, abusing. I mean, it's ironic that in grammar school, on the last day of school for summer, my foot would drop on the exit device like the hammer of Thor, And here I am in my life selling replacement parts for exit devices.
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe how much you know about doors, all the stuff about the force and this and that. Geez, a piece. I didn't know there was that much to know.
Yeah, I mean, you do something long enough.
Yeah. What other stuff do you do? Do you do windows and stuff too, or just doors?
No, just primarily commercial in nature. Commercial doors, stuff that has to do with locksmithing, access control hardware like low voltage hardware, mechanical hardware. You know, that's what my areas are in.
Huh, wild. Huh. All right. Well, very good. All right, Richard, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Best of luck.
All right, take care.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Okay, Rich, here's my front door. We open this up. And I thought I had put these things, like 5 of them on this part and 3 at the top, but it turns out I just put 5 here on the up-down. But basically, here's one of them underneath there, and second one, third one, fourth, and fifth. And I do have your thing here, that thing that goes at the bottom of the door that comes out when you close it. That works really well. But these things right here, these are pretty useless. I thought that I'd put 3 of them up top here, but it turns out I did not put any on this door. I was doing this is the first door I did. I was doing a bit of a test. And this is even recessed back anyways. But I put 5 of them there. And I think, if anything, that these make the seal not fit well. So when the door is closed, I think some air and stuff can get in there. But that's it.
Okay, there was a lot happening in that conversation. And admittedly, it's a call that I get that I don't necessarily monetize. It's later in the conversation, the client reminds me of an automatic door bottom that they installed, that they bought from us, and there's no order for that stuff. So sometimes it's just conversations that I have with people where I'm not going to monetize the conversation. We're distributors. We stay in business because we distribute material. We ship you something, we collect money, or we collect money and we ship you something, and with those sales comes the technical support. Sometimes there's technical support, but there's no sale. That doesn't work for a distributor very well. So let's unpack what the client's gone through and or talking about it. Let's go from there. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Okay, here is the conversation. Richard, I bought Glenn Johnson GJ65 wood door frame silencer gray rubber from someone else. Yes, that does appear to be the client's pattern of behavior. So let's take a look at what a GJ65 is. It may not be a GJ65 anymore. It might be an Ives SR65. They may have merged those. Anyway, this is a GJ65. Let's do this. Let's find Glenn Johnson. Let's see if it's still a GJ65. Some part numbers from the Glenn Johnson world have been converted into Ives or turned into Ives part numbers. Yeah, there's no silencer in their catalog, so like the CL11s, the CL12s, those used to be the BB large and the AA small is what they were, touch latches. So this is a 65. This is a bumper that gets drilled into the wood frame as shown here. It's kind of a oddly shaped jam. A lot of stuff happening here. But in the face of the stop, which is here, you drill a hole 1/4 inch and you just push the rubber bumper into, so that what it actually looks like I can actually salvage part of this. Drill a hole here, and that bumper sits right here. So if you have a rabbited jam, which is pretty typical, it goes right here, so that your door closes against it. So what this client did was he installed this material. What I was attempting to explain was that without that being there, your door comes here. Well, now the client has added a GJ65. That dimension there is no good anymore. So now the door is canted out this way. So it's, you know, I wouldn't have done it to begin with. I mean, I understand why the client has done it, but I wouldn't have done that because it changes. And when I said that his deadbolt may not go into the strike any like it used to, sometimes what happens is when you've got that prep in the frame and the bolt gets thrown into it, it's now hitting that edge because the door is now pushed out this way as a result of that gap. That's what I was referring to. The fact that he says it didn't really matter tells me that that the installation could tolerate the thickness of the head, which is 1/8 of an inch. Okay. Now, what I was recommending to the client is that they consider something not unlike the. Let's take a look. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. And let's unpack the rest of this. Client says that they were totally worthless. Well, as I said in the conversation, they're not the right thing for the job. They work flawlessly, in their intended application. I think I put 5 of them going down the length of the 2 exterior doors and 3 on the top of the doors. Had someone drilled the holes and installed them while I was away, I would never have known they were installed. That's how effective they are. I think the only thing they achieved was to make it so my door seal doesn't seal the door as well. Yeah, we talked about that. As I mentioned, it was counterproductive to install those. Do you have anything to make the door quieter? It's not that they close loud per se, but rather a low thump every time the doors are closed. So and I've had people complain about the sound of things, how much acoustical energy is given off. I had someone cause a serious large dollar problem over the sound of a roller latch. The nylon roller from a commercial roller latch hit the strike plate. This piece of hardware. The sound that this made when it hit the lip. I have had people reject automatic door bottoms because the sound it makes when it drops. I should say when it retracts back up. The sound that this makes when it retracts back up, people have complained about that. If you've made it this far into this video, you must be determined to see it through to the end, and we appreciate your hanging in there with us and watching this entire video. It means a lot. It takes a lot of work to create these videos in the sense that, it's time taken away from doing other things. However, the advantage for me personally of creating these videos is the fact that it does allow myself to either learn about something new, to reacquaint myself with something, or to reinforce what I believe that I already know. Any comments that you might leave down below would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. So, yeah, hardware makes noise, and there's a manufacturer by the name of Accurate Lock, and they make a lot of really fun hardware, a lot of stuff that nobody else makes. They'll tackle projects that nobody else can tackle. Well, Accurate Lock actually manufactures a piece of hardware, and these folks actually have lock mechanisms that they make out of nylon, so they're extremely quiet, all practically silent. Yeah, let's see what they have. It may be on their website that they have it actually. Silent Pack Quiet Mortise Lock. I believe what they do here is, yeah, muffle noise, operate a low decibel range. So I believe the internal parts here are nylon, and they probably have a specialized strike that's nylon tipped as well to really reduce the amount of sound that's being emanated. This lock is super expensive. For sure, it's well over $1,000. The bottom line is there are people that sound really, really bothers them, and if you are accustomed to a silent work environment, yes, that's going to be a problem for you. So the low thump every time that the client's stating, yeah, I get that. The problem is, though, when they open a window, the door is going to slam. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, there's no hard and fast solution for preventing a door from slamming. When you open up the window or the door in the back of the home, air rushes through, it's going to slam the door. This is the way it is. This is the way it is. So what I recommended to the client was, well, first of all, the friction style overhead track unit. And this is what it looks like. This gets mortised into the top of the door. This gets mortised into the header of the frame. And when it's installed, when it's installed and the door is closed, you don't see anything. This track gets installed up in the top, and it will prevent casual movement of the door. I don't know how many pounds of force it resists. It's not a lot, but when you take the door and set it in place, it will stay there. It won't creep open or closed. Is what it won't do. So the 104F is an idea that I would suggest. As I said in the phone conversation, it's not an idea that the client's going to put into play because of the cost of the material and more realistically what it would take to install it. But it's a device that will help that to a certain extent. I also suggested a overhead concealed door closer. It's the same concept. The advantage of that would actually be the fact that the client would have hydraulic control over the opening. This is not the item that I would suggest, but it is a similar item. That's not good. This all gets put up into the header. This is in the top of the door, and you are now hydraulically controlling the door. That will absolutely help reduce the slamming. Absolutely. But now you've got a big piece of commercial hardware on your door. And what I've realized is you've not seen the client's email video, so we'll switch to that in a moment. But before we get there, the typical weather stripping, maybe something like this will just work. Okay? Nice silicone, well, this is probably vinyl, but a vinyl or silicone or polyurethane bulb on all three sides of the door so that it's going to basically... It's going to go here. That's awful. It's going to go here. Screw it here. And that'll be on the header and both jambs. That will do a good job at helping reduce the amount of sound. You might be able to do a sponge neoprene there. And as I said, you can move that a bit laterally because of the slotted holes. But at the end of the day, if you want contact between the door and the face of the gasketing, you're going to have to pull it closed. Otherwise, there's no contact. And the client actually mentions you you have to know to push them less hard if a window is open. The client goes on to say, it seems like someone would have made a simple and effective device, but I haven't found one. I know they have a commercial type door closers, but I think they're too involved. I think. At the end of the day, we're looking for the client wants a scenario where when opening the window will not cause the door to slam. The client wants the door to make no sound when they pull the door closed. They don't want to increase the amount of pull force or push force necessary to seal the door. And at the end of the day, all I can recommend are, here are ideas of what you can consider. But unfortunately, I don't have a solid recommendation. So let's look at the client's video, and then let's wrap this video up. Regarding the links to ads that you might see in this video, we do apologize for any interruption to a smooth viewing experience, and hopefully the ads that are being presented to you are related to the base product. And if there is something, feel free to click on those and perhaps consider taking a look at what that other advertiser is promoting. Let's get back to the video.
Okay, Rich, here's my front door. We open this up. And I thought I had put these things, like 5 of them on this part and 3 at the top, but it turns out I just put 5 here on the up-down. But basically, here's one of them underneath there, and second one, third one, fourth, and fifth. And I do have your thing here, that thing that goes at the bottom of the door that comes out when you close it. That works really well. But these things right here, these are pretty useless. I thought that I'd put 3 of them up top here, but it turns out I did not put any on this door. This is the first door I did. I was doing a bit of a test. And this is even recessed back anyways. But I put 5 of them there. And I think, if anything, that these make the seal not fit well. So when the door is closed, I think some air and stuff can get in there. But that's it.
And it sure seems that standard problems don't have such straightforward and standard solutions, and it's because they always don't. When I mentioned to the client earlier that every building has a stack pressure problem, and in fact, if you ever notice those doors that kind of move weird like this, they're called balanced doors. The pivot point is so many inches off, and it's rotating here. So what happens is, as you push the door out, let's say, what opens up a lot more is the angle over here from the pivot, the vertical axis of pivoting. That allows airflow to move through the opening so that you can relieve some of that stack pressure. And balanced doors, that's what it's called, are meant for that sort of problem. But when you have high winds, you've got stack pressures in the building, you've got mechanical equipment sucking air, sucking air in or pushing air out, and you've got a sealed opening, relatively sealed, and now you're cracking that open, yeah, something's going to happen. You've got all that air pressure that wants to move. So door closers specifically have trouble with this when you have to have handicap compliance. 5 pounds maximum of opening force. Well, as it was said to me by Giles, a retired tech support person at LCN, and it's a poignant and elegant, simple way to say it. With a reduced opening force comes a reduced closing force. So if you want to make it easier to open, it's not going to close so well. If you want it to close really well, you're going to increase the amount of force it takes to open the door. So the client needs to find a balance of how much do they want to stifle that pressure of the door closing, because they're going to have the negative effect of having to push the door open every time. I wouldn't install a slide track. I probably would install weather stripping to help soften the blow. I would probably install something in the rabbet of the frame if I could, so that it wasn't obvious, like the Pemco S88 or something like that. And I would just try to not let the door slam. This is something that every person deals with at all times.
the door is going to slam. You got the front door open, groceries are coming in and out. You don't realize that someone's doing that. You've opened up the slider in the back, and that door just rattles like it's the hammer of Thor. So, you know, it's something we all have to deal with. I would probably do some sort of muting. I would remove the GJ65s. I would dowel those holes closed. I would make it like it was never there. And I'd probably put something on there. Maybe do something in the rabbet and on the soffit of the frame. And you know, I'm thinking of, if you ever notice, there are pushers that are in the cabinetry world. Blum makes them, Grass makes them, I believe. And they're soft close. Basically, when the door hits this soft close, I think a magnet takes over and it just slowly pulls it in. That concept would be really great, except a full-size door would easily overwhelm that hardware. But that concept would be nice. So maybe not a straightforward answer, but that's what we're dealing with, and hopefully this helps clarify or resolve something that you're working on. Now, I have sold to clients the friction holder. I have. I had a client who had an autistic child who was slamming the door too much. Just taking the door and opening and closing it over and over. And the client installed one of those friction stays. And I think the change in the behavior of the door, where it actually took more force to open and close it, actually affected change in the person's behavior. They stopped doing it. You know, another thing that the client could consider would be maybe reverse spring hinges. I mean, it's not going to help the fact that you're now going to have to overcome spring pressure, but as the door comes to slam closed, it'll be increasing spring pressure. Probably won't help very much. Every time you open the door, it's going to want to spring open. You can see there's not an elegant solution, or not one that's become or coming obvious to me. If you would like to continue this conversation or edify me in any way, please feel free to reach out. My name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. Thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.